I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for coming onto this podcast. I know this is something quite different, isn't
fun.
it? And yeah, we're filming, we're recording, we're firing on all cylinders, which is really exciting.
I'm knackered, it's great.
So, listeners, obviously, I just made parents do quite a lot of really hard stuff on the pole.
It was great. I loved every minute. That's what it was.
But you don't realise how tough it is
Yeah.
until you have to just keep going for
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I think you forget how much your body is actually needed. That sounds so stupid, but you are literally using every limb. Like, even if you think, oh, I'm just going to do an invert, and you're like, oh no, that still requires everything.
And also because in pole there is no such thing as a resting.
Yeah,
position.
it's people like to pretend there is, but I guess your best rest is probably a seat, and if you really love a thigh burn, that's great.
Yeah, it's not
but
really
if
a
you
rest,
don't,
is it? Because you're still like, oh.
it's lush.
It's lush, it's great, but it's not restful.
It's not. There's no rest for the wicked.
So, Paris, talk to me and our guests.
Okay.
Our listeners. Sorry, you're my guest.
Talk to them.
When did you start?
Oh Christ! I started July 2023.
Okay, so just over
a year, yeah.
No way! It feels like you've been with Momentum longer.
I'm just part of the furniture now.
Yeah,
like I just walk in. I was like, oh, here she is. Like, it's only Paris.
That's incredible.
It's great. I love it.
But also, fair play to you for how much you have achieved within a very short space.
Yeah, I think I forget, like, because I think naturally I don't care what anyone says, you will naturally compare yourself to other people. And obviously there's that fine line of doing it in a healthy way, from more of like an aspiration way, and then doing it in a way where you'll, make yourself feel like crap. But I think, I forget sometimes, like I have only been here for a year and a bit. And but then a lot of the girls that I come and boys that I come here with, they keep me going. They're like, come on, you can do it. And I think it's because I'm quite arrogant to them, so they're doing it back to me. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad, but it's a thing.
You're just like all egging each other on.
Yeah. I'm everyone's hype woman, and then I brick myself when they do it back to me, because then I know I've got to do it. So
nice little cycle.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have just ever opened my mouth and just got people to go, because now it's that happens back. So yeah, it's great.
Talk to us about what made you start. I know it's a little bit of a weird question, because sometimes people, they're like, what do you mean? How did I start? Well, I just booked a class. But I always find there's always a little bit more going on, isn't there? In terms 100%. Of what makes you actually want to do it, and then how you actually get to the point of booking a class and doing it, because it's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So the person that made me start was Ella, so shout out to you. But yeah, I think she had like 2 classes before I came with her, and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's my thing, because I think you just immediately think, oh god, it's pole, I don't know if I'm that kind of person. And then I joined, and I was like, oh my god, I'm never leaving, and obviously I haven't, because I'm now here. And then like, from like a more of like a serious point of view, I suffer with rheumatoid arthritis, and I have done since I was 2. So like trying to find a sport or a hobby that's like beneficial for me and my well-being was quite hard. Did cheerleading in the past. I could only do that for like a year because that was just too impactful on my bones. I did horse riding for 2 years. My knees could only take so much, and it was getting to a point where I was a bit like doctor always recommends going swimming, which is fine if you're a swimmer, great. I am not. So it just felt more of like a chore rather than actually finding something fun to do. And then I came here, and I think with pole or aerial, silk sling, whatever it is you do at Momentum, you can make it as impactful on your body as you want it to be. Like if you want to do something really slow and controlled and like muscle control and connection, that you can do that. Whereas if you want to be like absolutely mad on a pole and like fly off and flips and tricks, like you can do that as well. So there's not really a right or wrong. And touch wood, I think it's the best thing. Like I ache, don't get me wrong. Like sometimes after classes, I will come away and I'm like, oh my god, like that I'm sore. But I think it's generally been the best thing for me. Because it's an exercise I can control. Like,
so you are actually in charge of how tough it is.
If I'm not feeling it today, I won't do a sketchy move. If I'm like, oh, my knees are a bit dodgy today, I'm not going to do any leg hangs or anything like that. There's other things I can work on, whether that's doing the splits, Step around, just walk around in my heels. There's lots of things you can do, even in situations when you can't do things. So I think that's why I keep coming back. It's just great. It's like a drug.
No, but I like that because I find in a lot of other sports or recreational exercise, you perhaps don't have that much freedom in terms of
It's quite strict.
scaling it to what you need it to be.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I do really like yoga. I'm a yoga teacher myself. I enjoy it. I think it's great. But a yoga class can often feel quite. You know, you do exactly what's
Yeah.
And then if you skip a pose or make it a bit different, there's not often that attitude where people are like, oh yeah, cool. You know,
Yeah.
or you can feel a little bit self-conscious, whereas I think in a polo aerial class, a lot of people are doing things a bit differently.
Yeah,
Then
definitely.
And there's that pressure off.
And there's that thing as well, like when you come to a class, like there's some knee moves I can't do because it's too pulling on my knees, and they're like the weakest. So I've got it everywhere, rheumatoid arthritis, but my knees are like my weakest point. So it's really nice. Like even when instructors, when I say to them, look, I can't do that move, like it's too hard today, they'll change it up and give me something else to do. So even if you feel like I don't think I've ever felt, touch wood, I'm not going to jinx it, a situation being in class where I've gone, oh, like I hadn't been able to do anything, because the instructors will always find me something else to do. So if I can't do one move, that's fine. Like maybe another day, or maybe not ever. Like if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But there's plenty of other stuff I can do, so it's fine.
Did you, at the start, did you find it difficult to say, oh, my knees aren't happy with this, can I do something different?
A little bit.
Were you feeling self-conscious about that? Or?
Yeah. Because I guess not a lot of people, because I guess in my case, it's an invisible disability. So like no one would look at me when they meet me. Like no one would look at me and go, oh, she hasn't got technically anything wrong with her. So at first I was a bit like, oh, I don't really want to admit that I'm kind of a bit different than other people in that sense. And it's so harsh to say like I don't want to look like a bit of a failure in comparison, especially like when you're in like, I guess beginners or any class to be fair, but especially beginners, because you're like, why is this hurting my bone and I'm barely doing anything? So it did get to a point where I was a bit like, I'm going to have to say something, because if I don't, it will A, take weight off my shoulders, and then B, I'll be like, right, I've broken the ice now. And then it's also to actually getting to the point of just accepting like, it's fine. Like you don't have to be doing what someone else can do. Like if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you, but I'll do an Ayesha instead. So,
exactly. When in actual fact, you are supporting your body better and supporting your progress and success better if you work with your body and ask for something different when you are in pain or it doesn't feel right, than forcing.
Yeah, there's just no point putting yourself in pain for it. Like you come back next week, starting afresh, or like practice stretching at home. Like that's again hugely helped me, because even though I'm training the muscles, I've also got to help stretch them around the bones to make sure that they are still supporting them when I'm accidentally falling off a pole. What happens quite a lot today. So
just now,
just 10 minutes ago. That's fine. So yeah, stretching is really important, and it's hard because there are people that are naturally very flexible, whether that's muscle flexibility or bone flexibility. Whereas I think I'm quite fortunate now where I've got more muscle flexibility than bone. So I don't know if that's fortunate or not. It's something, but yeah, it's just. There's just always something you can do instead. Like, even if you feel like you can't do anything, yes, you can. Like, find something else.
I agree with you 100%. Do you remember your first class?
Yeah, it was with Shay. It was on a Thursday, 8:10 in the evening. Very specific, not a stalker. Just great memory. Yeah, it was her beginner's class, which I now TA in, so it's quite a nice little cycle, or circle, that's a better word. And yeah, I went in, I was absolutely bricking it, not gonna lie. And I was like, I don't know what to wear. I had like these little gym shorts. And I was like, oh, these too short? Like, I don't know, because I went for shorter shorts and a little sports bra. And it was so fun. We did step around practice. I did a front hook in my first class, and I was like, left away with that. And I was like, oh, she's gonna get paid for that. Still haven't been. And yeah, it was just really good fun. Shay's still my teacher, to be honest, to this day. And yeah, it was just a really fun class. She gave me a high five after every single word she said, after every single move. So it was just really like welcoming. The people again, they all like clap. Like after you, what some people I guess now, or I guess like for me, a seat would be quite a beginner move. But like back then, when you're on beginners and you are learning things like a seat, it felt like, oh my God, I could sit on a metal stick. So it was like, yeah, it was amazing. And then that was it. Went every week for once a week for about 2 months. And then I went to twice a week. And now I'm like a little bit too often. So, woo. It's great.
And when you look back at that very first class,
Yeah.
or the start, what was it that got you so hooked on pole? Can you put a finger on it?
Probably the environment. Like the atmosphere, the studio. So it was in Gloucester Studios, the one I first went to. It was just like, oh my God, like I've got people over there that are like backflipping off hoops. I've got someone over here practicing a seat on a pole, like, and I guess as well, like knowing that there's a move for everyone. Like in that whole class, I can't remember how many moves we did, but we obviously did quite a few, or like Shay was teaching us the foundations of quite a few. And I think that's when I learned, oh my God, yeah, like I'm going to be learning loads. And it's not just strength, it's flexibility, it's coordination, it's dance if you take that up, it's learning how to walk in a pair of heels if you want to do that. There's loads of stuff you learn. I don't think it's just like one thing.
And was that really apparent to you then in your first class? You walked in and you're like, wow, there's so many different things that I can actually do. So leading on from that, have you ever been bored in your polo aerial training?
Have I ever? To be honest, I don't think I ever have. I think I've been annoyed at myself if I couldn't do a move. But I don't think I've ever been bored. No, genuinely. Maybe if I'm in open, I thought I could do something in my head, and I've gone to open, and I can't do it, then I'm bored.
Yeah.
But not in
like,
class.
Oh, what do I do now?
Yeah, because I'm like, well, I wrote a list.
Plan.
Yeah. I was going to practice Superman today, my thighs aren't having it, so that's gone. Great. But yeah, no, genuinely, I don't think I've ever been bored. Even when I'm TAing, I love that.
And have you ever found that it was a slog? Or
maybe more in the summer because I'm already a sweaty mess. So like, and I think as well when you're already quite hot and bothered, and then you can't grip,
it's tough,
and you can't do anything because you're like, well, I did this last week when it wasn't 25, 26 degrees, and now I can't do it. That bit I feel more sluggish, but I think that's only because you're already sweating to death, and then you're sweating more by trying to climb up a metal thing, or if you're on a hoop or whatever.
Summer training is tough.
Summer training is, I don't know what's worse, winter or summer. Like, both. I hate everything.
But they both make you better polers.
They do. Get you stretching in your summer and then weight training in your winter, I don't know. Something like that.
You said something really interesting in right at the start, where you were talking about comparison and that it affects all of us.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something really interesting where you said there's different types of comparison.
Yeah.
So one that makes you feel crap and one that's aspirational.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So like when I look at the perfect example would be if I'm comparing myself to someone that's been doing it for quite literally 5+ years, and I've only been doing it for like a year, and I'm like, how do they do that so smooth? Like, how are they climbing into that so easily? And I'm like, mate. Like when I look at like Imi, for example, as a teacher, obviously she's been doing it, I think 13 years. And I'm like, oh, she makes that easy, I can do that. And I get very humbled very quickly. But then like, so that's more, not something that Imi makes me feel crap. Let me rephrase that. But like, she's great. I love her. Keep teaching. But like, I think when you're looking at someone that has been doing it for a long time and then you think in your head, well, if I could do an invert, then I could be able to do that like them, like the next move. And then I think when you look at something, well, I guess Imi could be both aspirational and not, without sounding horrible, because you'll be like, wow, she's been doing that for 13 years and you can see, like, I want to be just like that. And then you look at the other side and you're like, oh my God, like, how is she so good? Like, I think a lot of people don't take time in consideration when they're looking at others. So when you watch someone, you think they can just, I don't know, do a really good strange butterfly and not fall off into a split. And you're like, Jesus Christ, how the hell do you do that? And then and I guess like when I'm with other people in my class who've only been doing it for like maybe the same amount of time as me, and then you like watch them and you're like, whoa, Like, that's sick that you can do that, like at this early on, like you're that flexible, you're that strong. So yeah, I think it's quite important just to take time in consideration. Like, don't beat yourself up because someone's been doing it for 10 plus years and you've only been doing it for like 6 months. Like, I think, and I guess with Instagram being a good platform, I don't think a lot of people are honest on there. So like when you watch certain, not everyone was really pretty good, but like when you watch everyone or a certain group, individual, whatever, and you're like, whoa, but they never really say how long they've been doing it for, how long it's taken them to get said move or do the splits, or, you know.
You only ever see the end product, don't you?
Yeah.
And in the moment where you're comparing yourself to somebody else,
Yeah.
you're comparing yourself against their end product at this moment in time.
Yeah.
When in fact it took 13, 14, 15 years to get to that point. We never see the journey, do we?
No, exactly. And I think that's the bit where people get the crappy comparison, or, you know, when they're like, oh, well, I haven't seen how they've done that, so therefore I'm never going to be able to do it. When actually, in reality, they've probably spent quite literally years learning a certain move. Like, some people can, like, you know, so I know some people that have been learning the box splits for quite literally years, and they just can't get there, and that's fine. Like, some bodies just aren't made for it. But I think, yeah, it's just important to take into consideration you don't have to do everything you see on the internet. Like, just because it looks cool, kids, like, you don't have to do it.
Shout it louder.
Don't do a strange butterfly.
But yeah, I agree. You don't have to do everything on the internet.
Yeah, I take it as a goal, maybe, or like inspo. But yeah, just because you see it doesn't mean you necessarily have to do it.
And you don't know how long it took.
Yeah.
Like you just said, we see these end product videos, poses,
Yeah.
tricks, and yeah, we don't know have they achieved it within that session? Have they worked on that for the last 8 months?
Yeah.
Has it been years? How many times have they filmed it? Have they filmed this over the course of 3 months? And
exactly.
Posting the best take, or is this the very first time that we don't know? But I think immediately in our heads, what we think is, oh, that's amazing. It's easy for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where sometimes we put ourselves into unnecessary suffering because we think, oh, it's easy for them.
Yeah, they can do it immediately. It's like, no, it's taken probably years.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break.
And can you talk to us a little bit more about the other type of comparison that you were mentioning, where you said it's aspirational? How can you tap into that?
That's a really good question. I would say consider, how do I word this? I would say probably consider what you can and can't do from a starting point. Also, don't be hard on yourself with it. And then when you're watching someone, you think, oh my god, like, I don't know, how do I word this? Like, it's almost a bit like you watch someone and it's like you're almost at that point. So if they're like doing a combination of something and you're like, right, I can do that first half, and you're watching them to be like, how do they get into that next point? But more there to keep you motivated to do it. So I think it's like when you're looking at someone that's aspirational, it's more of being kind on yourself in terms of know what you can do, but also how you can still push yourself to achieve more. So like it's I guess it's just being a bit more like realistic with it. Like if you're watching someone that's quite clearly dropping into a split, to a backflip, to a flip off the pole, and you think, right, okay, well I can just about do a butterfly, that's great. That's probably not going to be as aspirational. Yeah, like I would say, whereas if you're watching someone that's maybe even a different age than you, a different background, weight, I don't know, gender, whatever, like, and you think, oh my God, yeah, if they can do it, why can't I? I think it's just more of just being mindful, yeah, what you can and already can't do, what is it you want to do next, and then looking at how you get there is more of the aspirational side of things.
That. So you focus on what the next step is.
Yeah.
And then perhaps somebody who is at that next step.
Yeah, watch how they do it.
Exactly, and you can use them as inspiration.
Yeah, exactly that. Like if they're already doing the first half that I know I can do, cool. Like that's what I tend to, if I'm going on Instagram or something and I'm looking at ideas to maybe put in a choreo or combinations, I would look at things that I know I'm pretty comfortable at, or like getting comfortable at, to then again motivate you to try and get onto the next step of it. So it's just, I think it's just being mindful, like I'm going to keep saying it, what you can and can't do. Like, don't push yourself if you can't. If you know you can't do the splits, that's fine. Don't watch someone that's doing a flip into a split. Like, let's just work on doing the splits, right? Like, take it easy. Let's not do that. Just practice your splits, you'll be great.
You were talking about this a little bit at the start when you said that you had tried a couple of different forms of exercise.
Yeah.
Swimming, was it? And
yeah, horse riding, cheerleading.
Yeah.
I did like karate back in the day, but I'm talking about donkey years. Like, we're old now, so it's going back quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your relationship with exercise like before you started pole? What were you doing?
Hit and miss. I then started going to the gym. Gym was pretty much the only thing I could do consistently, because it was like weight training. So it was exercises that, again, I could plan around my body. If my knees were not in the mood today, like I won't bother doing squats or anything with that sort of bending knee motion or impact on my knee anyway. If I'm feeling a bit under the weather from the medication that I'm on because of my arthritis, I just wouldn't go. Like, I could just plan it around me without the pressure being on it.
And I like that, so you could plan it, but it sounds a bit lonely. Was that like going to the gym by yourself?
Yeah, and it's so weird now, because if I go to the gym, which is quite rare now, thanks to Momentum, if I go to the gym now, it's so boring. Like, no offense to those who already go to the gym, but it is boring. Yeah, unless now I text like the pole gals and we're like, do you want to go together? And we end up just doing split stretches for half an hour of the hour session that we're there.
It's the pole gym session, yeah.
It's a literal, people are there like, what are they doing? We're doing headstand practices, handstand practices. We definitely are the annoying people in the gym, and that is fine. So, yeah, it's great.
So then I suppose when you started pole, it did very similar things, but it had the social aspect.
100%. I'm a social butterfly. Like, in case people didn't know, I do like to talk. It's great. And yeah, when I get to, it's almost like, it sounds so cliche, but it's a bit of an escapism as well. Like, if you had a bad day at work, you've got personal problems going on in your life, it's almost like another form of my therapy. Like, I've got my other therapy, which is, shout out to him, and then I've also got here, which is like my physical therapy. So I can catch up with the gals, see what they've been up to, what they're planning on their next choreo, what moves have they been working on. And then it's like, when I'm TAing with Shay, like, I can catch up with, I guess, like the students and be like, oh my God, no, you're smashing it, that's so good. Like, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, and now look at you doing a martini, like, ooh. And then it's also not the social side of it, but then the physical element of working out your body and having fun with it. And if you're not feeling it, go to the studio and just do some stretches, like catch up with your mates and just do some stretches. Like, there's not really a right or wrong thing to do at pole or whatever, or at Momentum, should I say. Like, it's, you go in and nobody kind of expects you to do everything. If you're not feeling it, that's fine. We try it again tomorrow or next week, whatever works for you. There's no pressure. And I think that's why I keep probably coming back a little bit too often now, because there is no pressure. So I'm like, sod it. I'll just come back tomorrow and do nothing. I'm not doing tomorrow as well.
You're probably more the type of person who needs to be told to have a rest day.
Yeah,
not the other way
my
around.
boyfriend does get pretty annoyed because I've got a pole in my living room as well. So he's like, hey, give it a rest. I'm like, if it's tall and metal, it's mine. Like, I'm claiming it. Like,
and again, what just caught my attention, what you just said, that you really enjoy, obviously, the social aspect, but particularly the aspect of celebrating with others, because I think often we forget that as nice as it is for you to achieve something, and obviously then saying to yourself, wow, I've done that, I feel proud of myself, and then perhaps others coming up to you and saying, smashed it, it's awesome, but what it gives you almost the same buzz, doesn't it? To celebrate with somebody else.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
I think it's just nice sharing that what you've also felt is now what that person's feeling. So like, it's nice just to be like, and again with pole, it's the goal is still the same. So whether your goal is a shoulder mount, I don't know, a brass monkey, a butterfly, whatever your goal is, no matter what level you are at pole, the goal is still the same. So yeah, there's no sort of like official finish line, I guess is what you call it. Like, there's always something to aim for. And I guess again, that's why, like with pole, like, it's so good for whatever, anything at Momentum, you name it. Yeah, like, there's not a right or wrong. There's not a right or wrong body. There's not a right or wrong age. There's not a right or wrong condition. It's what you want to make of it. If you want to have a really hard day and push yourself and, you know, see what your body is capable of doing, then go for it. And then if you think the next day, God, I shouldn't have done that, maybe I should just try something a little bit more simple and just practice floor movements and leg waves and whatever, then you can do that. Like, it's, nobody's ever going to say you're not doing it the right way, because there isn't a right way. So, and I think that's why, again, we keep coming back. It's a bit of a problem. I don't live at home anymore. This is it.
It's camping outside.
I never see my dog. He's always like, who's that? Like, I walk through the door. I'm just wearing shorts. He's like, oh, it's Mum. Like, I know where she's been. It is funny.
And in terms of, again, you touched on it already in a few of the things that you've been saying, but how have you found that pole specifically has changed how you how you exercise? Obviously you can kind of scale it to what you need to be, but has that had a more wider ripple effect into how you see yourself, how you carry yourself in the world?
Yeah, I love my body now. Like, that sounds, again, really cliche. And I know you have good days.
Fun.
Everyone has good days. God damn it. She's so emotional today. Turns out this is a therapy session. Yay! Like, you will have good days and bad days. Like, again, you'll be like, oh, I'm bloated today. I hate myself. And then you go to a point, you're like, who gives a shit? It helped me hold my stomach against the pole. Like, actually, it worked out pretty beneficial for me. And yeah, I think, like, as well, when you have an underlying condition, I guess like myself or anyone else, you know, out there, my biggest flaw, or not flaw, that's the wrong word, insecurity, are my knees, because they are, nobody would know, probably till I point that out, but I've got fat knees because of my arthritis, right? So when I was then having to wear shorts, right, and being like, oh my Christ, I need to get my legs out to actually grip on a pole. Like, I need to, otherwise I won't be able to, unless I get sticky leggings, but I'm not about that life. And yeah, and then it just got to a point where I was just like, you know what, like, just accept it. Like, not one person to this day, touch wood, and they probably won't, as I've mentioned it, but not this, you know, not one person has said to me like, oh my God, Paris, like, look at the size of them on your legs, like, they're like little bowling balls. So, like, yeah, it's changed the way I look at myself, the way I look at others, regardless of size, background, again, age, whatever, because everyone has that same goal, be it what it is, whether that's, like we said, a shoulder mount to a butterfly, it's the same goal. And it's made me stronger, it's made me healthier, it's made me eat like a horse. I've put on weight, like, in a good way. My butt's got bigger, so that's always a bonus. Thanks. And yeah, it's just made me really accepting of just, you know what, like, it works around a pole, it works around a hoop. I'm fine. It's strong, and nobody, like, my arthritis ain't going to get in the way of it. So it's just, yeah, it's good. It's nice, and it's been, like, touch wood, I've been the healthiest for the past year and a bit, because I had steroid injections in my knee a couple years before joining pole, where I had to get it drained, and I've had, like, steroid injections everywhere, and yeah, so it's getting to a point where it's a bit like, what am I going to do? Because obviously the doctor recommends you to keep moving. So when it was like, oh, what can I do? Then I found this place, and now it just makes you accept who you are. Very long story cut short. So yeah.
No, but I think this is what pole is about, isn't it? At its core, I find it's just about accepting yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel often we are being told to love ourselves.
Yeah.
And great, if that's achievable for people, awesome. But I think for probably the majority, just accepting yourself is massive.
Like, you're okay the way you are. Like, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, because you grow up and you think all these things are wrong with me. Like, I'm the wrong size, wrong hair color, wrong height, wrong this. I laugh too much, too loud, not enough, not friendly. You know, all these things.
Yeah.
And then so many of these characteristics are physical, aren't they? Beauty industry, beauty standards.
Yeah.
you know, etc.
Yeah.
That you do often just feel like uncomfortable in your body, not because it's wrong or there's anything wrong with it or you're in discomfort or anything, but purely because you feel
Yeah.
unaccepting.
That's because the standards around you are different than what you are. So it's like, well, you would automatically, it's coming back to that comparison story, isn't it? Where you then compare. It's that cycle again of being like, well, if someone's doing that, then I should be able to do that. And it's not the case. Like, if you can't do it, that's fine. It just means you can't do it right now. It doesn't mean you can't do it ever. It's just not right here, right now. Like, and that is fine. Like, do something else that you know you're good at, or do something else that you know you're halfway there and you can like tidy it up or neaten it or learn how to dismantle a pole better. Yeah, there's just no right or wrong with it. It's just whatever works for you.
And sometimes I think also, because normally, like, we're so always chasing progress and the next big thing, and the next move, but sometimes, or oftentimes, progress actually happens just in something not hurting as much, or something feeling a bit more comfortable, or you know, being shit scared whilst you're doing it.
We know those moves. We love them.
And that's what I like about what you just said, where you said, just try and like neaten up what you're doing, or just try and
just brush it up.
Exactly, yeah. And just
again,
try and, or do the stuff that you already know, but maybe do it with more intention.
Yeah, and I always like to say to people as well, because a lot of people will ask me stuff like about choreo stuff. Not that I'm a dancer, because that's not a thing. But I always say to them, like, less is more. Like, if you can do, we'll say, like, less impressive moves, but they're really tidy and the flow to each one of them is really solid, it will hands down look 10 times more impressive than attempting a move you've maybe done once or twice and think, oh, if I've done it once or twice, I can smash it in the choreo. Like, you forget how much energy it takes up to get into that move. So there's also that pressure as well, just because, doesn't mean that move's still not good and you've achieved it, but don't put pressure now that you think you have to nail it every single time, because again, you'll have good days and bad days with it, so anything. So sometimes less is more.
And then this is our last question, because we're running out of time.
So sad. We can stay for all day.
I've got lots more that I want to ask about. I'm going to I thought this is a good one. Good days and bad days.
Yeah. We love them.
Bad days.
Yeah.
What tips have you got
for
people who are either having a plateau, or they're a bit bored, or even just a bad day in the sense that they had a crap day at work, it's dark, it's cold, and you feel like, the last thing I want to do now is go to the studio.
Yeah.
What's your go-to in those situations?
I mean, my go-to, when I was in my plateau, for example, my go-to was just to keep showing up. Even if it meant, okay, all I could do this session was an outside leg hang, that's fine. But it's still, what is it Shay said? She's like, it adds every penny to your pole jar. So like, even if you think in your head, I haven't achieved much today, you still achieve something by going to the studio. Even if you've worked on something like your flexibility, you're still another inch closer to your splits than you were last week by still going. So I would say, if you're really not feeling it, again, look at videos that are going to inspire you, not make you feel like crap. And, whether that's just putting on, if you've got pole heels, whether that's putting on your heels at home and just wearing them in as you're watching like TV. Sometimes I do that from the meetings at work. If I've got a new pair of heels, I'll whack them bad boys on, and nobody needs to know how tall I am until I stand up. And I would just say, just keep showing up. Like, keep talking to your pole friends. Like, I always like to say as well, there's no such thing as a stupid question as well when it comes to pole, because everyone's output, everyone's input's different, everyone's goals are different. There's not really a right, again, it's going back to that same story, there's not a right or wrong. So if you're having a bad day, and if that still means you don't want to look at pole at all, then don't. Like, because again, there's not that pressure to even look at it. If you're really not feeling it, take a complete break. Like, just, whether that's a week, but also don't distance yourself too far from it. It's that fine line of, give yourself a bit of a break from it. If you're really not feeling it, that's fine. Have a break, have a kick out. And then when you are thinking, you know what, I could do this today, when you are in that moment, book it. Even if it means the next week, just book it. and then start doing things at home again. It's, yeah, just find that balance of not being hard on yourself, but keeping consistent, because there you will notice if you're not consistent, and I don't mean every single day, even if it's once a week, it's still consistency. As long as you're consistent with it, it will still play off. So just keep trying, even if you're having a really bad day. Online splits class. Nobody needs to know what you look like at home. I look like a bang and mess when I do Caitlin's online splits class, I'll tell you. It's not a vibe.
That's the beauty of doing a swim class at home.
No, box splits, I look even worse. I look horrific. There aren't no lashes in there. Like, these are for today. God.
Paris, it's been awesome.
That was so cute. I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much for coming here and doing this with me on a Saturday afternoon.
It was worth the drive.
I really thank you.
And the walk. It was great.
I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing so many, not just really, really good tips that people can just implement straight away, but also just, sharing so honestly what your pole experience is like, the highs, the lows. Because, yeah, I feel like, yes, in class we do talk between each other about the highs and the lows, but if we're actually home alone and you're like, oh God, didn't have a good class today, it's quite nice to actually have stuff that you can listen to online where people also talk the talk.
Yeah.
Walk the walk, talk the what's the...
Who knows? Dog bites, who knows? Or bark no bite, whatever it is.
Thank you so much, Paris.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So cute.
And thank you, lovely listeners. And we'll see you again soon. Bye, Paris.